Android is hard, and when I say Android, I mean Android app development. So let's take a story of a college student. They want to build a project. They have like a couple of options. They can either go ahead with a web app, which means learning JavaScript, HTML, CSS, or maybe a library like React Native or Angular. Or the other non-conventional path that they have is maybe try to learn assembly or try to learn like native C, C++, and try to build device drivers. And the third path, or another conventional path that they have, is build a mobile app. And over here they have two further options, either iOS or Android. Let's say they go ahead with Android because the devices are cheap, and they spend around 6 months to 1 year build a few Android apps, and then they like eventually face an interview with a startup. They come across this question that do they know Kotlin, and they're like, okay, give me 6 months and I'll get back on this one. So they spend 6 months, learn Kotlin, and then they find themselves in another interview. So this time they're asked, do you know Jetpack Compose? And they're like, I've been doing XMLs all my life. Okay, give me 6 more months and I'll get back on this one. And after 6 months, they are faced another question regarding either Flutter or Kotlin multi-platform. And they are like, okay, now they have this realization, what have they gotten themselves into? Folks, I know this is not a reality, but still this is close enough. In this video, let's try to think through and see why Android is hard, and maybe try to come up with some lessons that can be learned here. Editors, let's roll the intro. Okay, so why is Android development hard? Before we get to the understanding the why it is hard part, let's try to understand why does it even exist, as in why isn't web development enough? Why do we even have mobile app development in the first place? Let's try to see the architecture of Android. And let's try to also extrapolate an architecture where, let's say, Android was built in a different way. So the architecture on the left that you see is what we have as of today. You have the bare metal at the bottom, which is the hardware. Then you have kernel and drivers on top of it, which control the hardware. Then you have a hardware abstraction layer, which abstracts out the entire kernel. Then you have native libraries along with the runtime. Then you have API framework, and then on top of it, you have the Android apps. Now, on the right side, you have a similar architecture. It's just that instead of having the Android apps, you have a browser running there along with the JavaScript V8 engine. And on top of the browser, you have multiple web apps that are running. If we go back to 2007, 2006, when Android was being built, at least the first version, the first thing or the main thing that you should note is that browsers were not advanced. They were very primal. Like no one really thought about making an OS for a browser. When I say that browsers were very primal, we'll see in a moment what I mean by that. Now, the first important thing is the offline access. Back then, internet speeds were not that good. And if there is no internet, how will these web apps even work? It's slightly debatable because even if we talk about an Android app, there is this download step that is involved. As in you still need internet connection to at least download the app, and from there the app code runs natively on your device. And then the other part of the problem is that you didn't have actually the local storage APIs that you have available today in JavaScript. I believe you still had the session storage though. The second important point is user experience, user interface, and performance. So the kind of APIs that were available back then were again very primal, especially when we talk about animations. CSS3 was not there. I think it came in 2010. So jQuery was still being built. So just imagine how your web development would have looked like back in 2005, 2006. And also there was a need for the applications to have a deeper integration with the system UI, like showing notifications, interacting with other apps, launching other apps. Like when I say interaction, I mean some kind of inter-process communication mechanism. And all of this was simply inexistent in browsers back then. Then the third important point is security and control. So at least on the architecture on the left, the framework provides a very nice sandbox around every app so that every app is basically oblivious of the existence of the other apps. But even then, they can still communicate with each other. They can still launch each other via intents and whatnot. And again, all of that had to be built in browser if we were to have a second, the architecture on the right. Then the last but not the least is the hardware access. Like browser didn't have any support for deeper hardware access. Like GPS, sensors, microphone, camera, audio, all of this was basically, it wasn't there and no one really actually thought about it. So in addition to all of this, Like the major problem was that if browsers were to support all of this, like they had to support it on every platform, because a browser doesn't only run on Android, they run on iOS, on PCs, and maybe other form factors like Linux and whatnot. If browsers went down that path, these APIs, these new APIs had to support all these platforms. It was even like a bigger deal. So it never happened. But now things are different. Maybe it's happening, but we'll reserve that for a separate video. All right. So coming back to the main question, why is Android hard? Well, I'll give you around 8 reasons for that. I'm pretty sure there are many more. So let's start with the first one, which is the one-time setup. If you talk about one-time setup for Android, you download the Android Studio, you just create a project and just go on from there. The only small hiccup here is that you need to install the emulator, or you might need a physical device. On top of it, you also need to install ADB Bridge, like the platform tools. Now, for web development, it's pretty simple. I mean, you don't even need an IDE. You just need to create one HTML file, put all your CSS, JavaScript, everything there, and just open that file in your web browser, because you always have like Microsoft Edge or Chrome, and things just work out of the box, right? Okay, second one. Feedback loop. So feedback loop is basically how quickly you can see the effect of your code changes. Now, for a web app, the feedback loop is like refreshing the website. It takes fraction of seconds. But for an Android app, rebuilding the app takes somewhere from 30 seconds to 5 minutes, depending on the size of your app. It could be more as well. But if you have a good architecture of the app, you have different modules, you can try to keep it under a minute. Now, there is this famous Gradle version issue. Like think of it like this. You're working on your app, you worked on it for 6 months, and you're very closer to your release, and then you update your Android Studio version, and the next thing you realize is your build is failing. Why? Because the Gradle version, it requires a new Gradle version. And how you update the Gradle version, it's totally unknown. You just scratch the World Wide Web via Stack Overflow and whatnot, but still you just cannot figure it out, and you end up wasting 2 days, and at the end of the day you realize that it was just a 2 lines code change in 2 files. I've been there, not a fan. Third, crashes. Now, crash is something which happens very frequently because of bad code or some unintended code. Now, if we see a JavaScript crash or a website crash, it's okay. I mean, the users will most likely see nothing, in the sense they'll click on a button, nothing will happen, that's it. The app will still be there. There will be some stack trace shown on the console, which is fine. But if we talk about a process crash in Android, well, the users might see this not responding dialog. Not sure if it's there anymore, but at least the app will crash, as in just gone. You will just see the home coming back, which obviously is not a very good user experience. And this is one of the reasons that why a lot of Android developers actually fear, or a lot of early stage Android developers fear from Android, because the crashes here are hard. They're like right in your face. Fourth, fragmentation problem. Now, let's say you build a very nice Android app, and 6 months after launching the app, you realize that there is a new phone which was launched by Samsung or OnePlus, and your app is not working there. It's crashing because you were using a native C++ language because of some visual processing, which is not working fine there. And then you buy that device and then try to address the issue and spend maybe a month or so. And every day we see new form factors as well. So let's say you create an app. You wrote an app just for the portrait mode. For some reason, you didn't actually want to handle landscape mode, and you realize that a lot of users are complaining because, hey, those users are using tablets, and on tablets, your app is looking like a shit. Oops, sorry, my bad. And maybe the next year you realize that now you want to make your app available for Android TV. You need to handle more cases. Maybe in the future there is an Android VR thing, and you want to make your app compatible with the VR stuff, and this thing just keeps on going like that. Fifth, learning material. Now, this also ties in with the other problem, which is the ever-changing landscape. Now, the only problem I have here is that we don't have anything of the sorts of, or of the likes of, W3 schools. W3 schools for all things web is really nice, but I kind of miss that stuff for Android. It is kind of hard to do because, let's say W3 schools build something for for Android based on Java and XML, and within 2-3 years now you have Kotlin and Jetpack Compose, and all of that stuff is irrelevant. So basically all these learning materials, if we ever have them, they have to keep up. You shouldn't get surprised if you start Android development in 2024 but you still see some tutorial which is still talking about Java and XML. It can happen. So 6 is like the crux of all of this, which is static versus dynamically typed languages. So statically typed languages is basically Java and Kotlin, which is primarily used for Android app development, where we have this compilation step which is involved. And dynamically typed languages, JavaScript, TypeScript, Python. So all these languages, like JavaScript primarily, which is used to build logic on the websites. Since it's not compiled, it's usually fast, and which actually makes the entire developer velocity and this entire cycle pretty fast. 7th, offline access. So the thing I need to mention here is that for websites, you generally don't think a lot about the local storage. But when you're writing Android apps, you have to think about local storage, which means you have to learn SQL. Now, this is an important point, folks. A lot of web developers see that Android app development is easy. It's like writing a website. To all those, I have written both, and mobile development, like not just Android, but iOS as well. It's slightly different in this respect, because you have to learn, if you want to cache all the information locally and store it in a structured manner and then retrieve it, you have to learn SQL. And for the websites, you don't even need to get there, because websites are meant to be run when the internet is there. By the way, this use case is slowly going away because everyone is connected like all the time. Last but not the least, multi-threading and lifecycle issue. The fun part about mobile development in general is that you don't have a V8 JavaScript engine for you that can give you a single threaded environment, which means that if you want to do any background work, let's say you want to wait for 10 seconds, or you want to fetch something from the network, or you want to read something from the disk, you have to do on a separate thread. You have to do it on a separate thread other than the UI thread, because if you do it on the main thread, your app will basically get stuck. Then the other very crucial problem is the lifecycle problem. So you have this activity which contains a thread. If that thread outlives the lifecycle of the activity, there can be multiple memory leaks. See, I can go on and talk about these whys. I will basically never stop, but these are like the primary ones.
And it looks like we have already ran out of time. So this is what I had for this video. I've created a part 2 where we actually talk about the good stuff, as in what is Android team doing and how to go about learning Android in 2024 and beyond. So stay tuned. You should have the link to the second part in the description below, most likely. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.